Good morning students. We are starting with video 5 of research methodology and IPM, starting with module 2. So this module basically deals with your business research design process, the steps in that, how do you create a business research design document, and then the different types of research designs. For example, exploratory research, conclusive research and experimental research is what has been prescribed in your syllabus. And then after that you will be learning about the differences and the similarities also between these three types of business research document. So starting with, we will first understand what you mean by research design document. So basically a research design is a framework or blueprint for conducting the marketing research product. It details the procedures necessary for obtaining the information needed to structure and or to solve marketing research problems. So it constitutes the blueprint for the collection, measurement and analyzing of the data which is present over there. The formidable problem follows the task of defining the research problem and in preparing of the design of the research product, popularly known as the research design. So decisions regarding what, where, when and how much, by what means concerning an inquiry or a research study constitute a research design. So a research design is the arrangement of conditions for collection and analysis of data in a manner that aims to combine relevance to the research purpose with economy and procedure. So again, it is the arrangement of conditions for collection and analysis of the data in a manner that aims to combine relevant information for a research purpose again. And in fact, you'll be asking about the questions of what is the study about, why is the study being made, where will the study be carried out, and what type of data is required to conduct the study, and where can the required data be found, how can it be found, at what time, what period of time, what will be the sample design, the sample size, the techniques for interpretation, analysis, the methodologies involved, and what style your report or the interpretation will be prepared, right? So basically it lays the foundation for conducting the project, and it will ensure that the marketing research project is conducted effectively and efficiently as well, right? So next, moving on to the key components of research design. So what are the different key components of research design? First one being the research question or objectives. Next is the research approach, and then the sampling strategy, and then data collection methods, data collection instruments, data analysis, ethical considerations, timeline and resources, limitations, validity and reliability of the data being collected. So these are the components in the sense. See, you need to include all these components or variables inside your research design document so that the researcher will not have any issues while conducting the research or during the research process. So the first one being research question or objectives. What do you mean by that? See, you need to clearly define the research question or the objectives which you have set for your particular research study, which again aims to solve the problem which is being set or to give the answers for your questions, right? So it should be specific, measurable, and it also has to be aligned with the purpose of your research. Why? Because see, in the beginning, the researcher will have a vague idea about how his research will look like, or what components he might include, or how long it might take, what resources he might need, whose all help he will need, right? So as and when he proceeds further with the research process, he tends to get much more information, or he tends to go deep into the research work or the study or the survey work, so that he time and again needs to probably change the parameters which he might have set in the beginning, right? So it again depends on the researcher how well he carries out or how well he has stated in the research design document. For example, the question or the objectives being set. See, you have an issue for which you want to survey or do a kind of research. For that, you need to question, why am I going for this research work, or why only this concern or issue is being taken up? What will happen once if I get the answer? Or how can we solve it once we have the solution or the data from the people or the consumers or the customers who are all involved in that particular research process, right? So again, these objectives or questions, they are a part, or they are a base for your research design document. Next, coming to the sampling strategy. So what do you mean by sampling strategy? See, sampling is how well you take the data, like how well you collect the data, or how well you identify the respondents who can give you the data, right? So, how will you identify the respondents? First, you see, you have something called population and then the sample. Population is the entire number of target respondents, right? So again, your sample is the number which you require or which is required for your study from that whole population. So again, we are conducting a survey on SJBIT students. Okay, so your population comprises of your engineering students, MBA students, and other degree students, other university students, undergraduate, PG level, doctoral students, all the students, right? And coming to the sample, you can, if you are directly dealing with postgraduate, so you have PG in either both in your engineering stream as well as MBA, right? So you can go to students of MBA department as well as the engineering department PG students. So those are your sample from the entire set of students of SJB8. So that is how you take the sample, right? So sampling strategy is deciding on the sampling technique, or the to select the participants or cases for your study, determining the target population, sample size, and sampling technique that best suits the research objectives. Common sampling techniques include random sampling method, stratified sampling method, convenience sampling method, and purposive sampling method. Again, your sampling methods are categorized into probability sampling and non-probable sampling methods, right? So we'll go in detail with that because we have a separate module for your sampling methods. Next being the data collection method. So what you do here, you have identify the objective or questions for your research, and then what you want to do next is you have identify the population, target population also. So you need to get the data collected from those samples. For example, 100 students from SJBIT. So what you do, you go, you speak to them, and then you go collect the data either in the form of hard copied questionnaires, or through Google Forms, or through one-to-one interview, or any other means wherein you expect to give genuine answers from the respondents. So you're choosing appropriate data collection methods to gather information which is again relevant, reliable, genuine to the research question. And some of the common methods include surveys, interviews, observations, document analysis, focus groups, or experiment. And please ensure that the chosen method align with the research objectives, because see, you have set an objective wherein you require large participants, a large number of respondents, so that at that point of time your Google form will be of help instead of going and giving a hard copy of questionnaire to each and everybody wherein you have so much of respondents, wasting your time. This is the best option, right? Next is the data collection instrument. So we got to know about the data collection methods. So next is the data collection instruments. So what do you do here? Develop or selecting the specific tools or instruments to collect the data, and it could also include questionnaires or interview protocols, or it might be your observations, checklist, or experimental methods also, or materials also. And you have to ensure that these instruments are valid and reliable for measuring the variables or concepts of interest. So data collection instruments come into picture or help for your data collection method. And then the data analysis plan, determining the methods and techniques which is required to be used to analyze the collected data. It could also involve statistical analysis, qualitative coding and thematic analysis, content analysis, or other appropriate methods also. and you need to ensure that the chosen analysis methods align with your research questions and data type also. So the next one being the ethical considerations. You need to address ethical considerations in your research design. Why? Because you study others through ethical principles, protecting the rights and well-being of participants, obtains informed consent, and maintains confidentiality also. So for that you need to be ethical from your point of view. So seeking necessary approvals from relevant ethical review boards or committees, if applicable, is up to the researcher. And next being timeline and resources. What do you mean by this? You need to develop a timeline that outlines the various stages of the research study. For example, for the next 6 months, I should be able to at least prepare a draft of my questionnaire, or go meet people for my data collection or analyzing or confirming with the statistical tools, technologies which are required for my research work. Right? So that is what we do. And you also need to allocate resources. It might be budgeting, personal equipment, and software which might be required for the research purpose. Next one being validity and reliability. So what do you mean by validity and reliability? Your data should be valid and it should be reliable. You need to consider strategies to enhance the validity and reliability of the study. What do you mean by validity? It refers to the extent to which your study measures what it intends to measure, while reliability relates to the consistency and stability of the measurements. Planning appropriate measures and techniques to ensure the quality of data and the validity of the findings. Right? So this is about your validity and reliability. Reliability is how well you can relay, or your data is reliable, valid, right? It's like where else can you use the same data? Can you use it as a valid proof for other research works, for other domains? And again, it has to be checked with the concerned authority that can we do the same. So these were all the basic components of your research design document. So next, coming to the questions. Probably these are the questions which are being addressed by the research design. Right, we already went through it. And then next, moving on to significance of research design. So before going to the significance of research design, you will also have to read about few of the other concepts or other terminologies which is related to research design. Independent variable and dependent variable. So what do you mean by dependent and independent variable? See, dependent variable is some variable which acts according to the attitude and behavior of the independent variable. So independent variable is one which tries to have control over the dependent variable. So these were about the independent and dependent variable, right? So it is a concept which can take on different quantitative values, which is also called as a variable. So again, it is quantitative, right? Next is extraneous variable. For example, the dependent variable, apart from the independent variable, whatever it has or the study has, it might also have effect from other variables also. Those other variables can be independent or again dependent variables which are dependent upon the independent factor. So it also again tells you about how strong is your variable connectivity, right? So that is about the extraneous variable. And see, independent variables that are not related to the purpose of the study but may affect the dependent variable are also termed as extraneous variables. See, they don't disturb the class or they don't require the attendance. They come, it's like, they contribute to the attendance of the class. So that is how your extraneous variable act as. Next, having the control. So what do you mean by control? characteristics of a good research design is to minimize the influence or effect of extraneous variable, right? So apart from this, you also have confounded relationship, research hypothesis, experimental and non-experimental research work, experimental and control groups. Yeah, this is one required because in third module we'll be reading about this, and in the end of second module also with regard to so many cases, like so many companies, so many organizations, also we learn about this experimental and control group. So experimental group is something or which consists of individuals who are ready for the treatment or ready for the experiment, and control group will not be exposed to this experiment, only the experiment group. And again we will be testing the data which is collected from the experiment group when we are going with the independent variable also, because it is like independent variable, experimental group, all comes hand in hand, right? So next, coming to the significance of business research. So what is the significance of business research? Research design plays a significant role in the field of research, as it provides a structured and systematic plan for conducting studies and collecting the data as well, right? So what it does, it serves as a blueprint for researchers to address research questions or hypotheses effectively. So first being the guidance, guiding the research process. So what do you do in this? A well designed research study guides the researchers on how to proceed from the initial stages of formulating their research question to final stages of data analysis and interpretation. So after this interpretation, what happens? It involves the procedure or outlines the steps, procedures and methods to be followed, ensuring that the research is conducted in a systematic and organized manner. Next is the validity and reliability. So we are learning or reading about the significance of your research design document, right? So next is validity and reliability. So it is crucial for ensuring that your data is valid for probably the next few years of the research work, and it is reliable also, because see, once you collect the data, then you have to make sure that data is something reliable that you can rely on to find out the solution, or they have given proper data when you wanted to collect it from them, right? So next is sampling and generalizability. So what do you mean by sampling? So sampling is a method or technique of selecting the samples from the population, right? So what happens in that? And sampling, yeah, it helps this design. You can just specify the sampling method, sampling size in this document, because it also helps to find out the sample size. It also assists researcher in selecting a representative sample from the large population, increasing the likelihood of generalizing the study's findings to other broader population. So next is data collection methods. So what do you exactly mean by data collection methods? So in data collection methods, what happens is, see, you would have defined the different means of collecting the data. So again, whatever has been specified in the research design document, it guides the selection and implementation of appropriate data collection methods, and it has to be brought to the notice of the researcher before printing anything, or before deciding upon, or before identifying any of the factors. It also helps researchers to choose the most suitable instruments, surveys, interviews, observations, or experiments to get the necessary data. The design also outlines the procedures for data collection, ensuring that consistency and minimization of variables or resources should not occur. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಬಂದು ರೆಸ್ಪಾಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಆಫ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್. ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಅಲೋಸ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚರ್ to control and manipulate variables to investigate cause and effect relationship. Yeah, because see, in the later stages we'll see different types of research design documents, right? So you should be able to compare the first with the last of the research design document. Next is ethical considerations and then analysis and interpretation. Again, we went through this analysis and interpretation. You will be analyzing the data which you have received from the respondents, right? And then you need to analyze it and then interpret in the sense, again, put it in the word form, because the other researcher should be able to get it, what exactly is happening with the research design or research process. And then replicability and extension. Replicability is replicating your data. Extension is wherein you need to need some 6 months or 1 year to finish that research work. Again, you need to take the extension from that particular authority. So these were about the research design document, its importance, and then the significance of that, the components of research design document. So this was about the module 2 of video 5 RM and IPR. So in the next session also we will be learning about the module 2 research design only, factors affecting research design, and then after that we'll be starting with the types of research design, starting from exploratory design method. So thank you for listening, class.